Welcome to Susie's Enchanted Crossroads, a podcast that helps you navigate your journey through the crossroads. I'm Susie, and together we will be taking a deeper look into witchcraft and spirituality. So settle in, and let's get this episode going. Hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, I totally missed you guys. I feel like we haven't spoken or hit a topic, just me and you, in a hot minute. And I know that's not true. I don't know why it feels that way. I guess because I've had some guests come on and the recordings I've done. I've had guests that are gonna be making appearances later on in this podcast. And I feel like we haven't sat down together, bestie. Um, I think another reason that it feels that way, it just feels like a whirlwind. I did have a heavier episode where we talked about spiritual bypassing, and then I did, Reiki 4 when you're in the car, and that way you can always take me with you. And then, I had Steve Hine and then Teresa Reed, the tarot lady, on here, and then I've interviewed a couple more. And I'm like, wait a minute, I feel like I haven't really sat down, gotten my coffee, and chit-chatted with you. How are you doing? How's how's the vibe? And I know we just had a lunar eclipse if you're catching this in real time. So tell me, how are you feeling? What's going on? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. I I totally get it. I totally feel it also. Uh If you're living in the States, doesn't it just feel like just bad reality television? Like it just feels like a fever dream one. Like when are we waking up from this? And then on top of everything else, everything that and astrology, the planets are always going to do what they do, right? And then it's just trying to carve out space for yourself as maybe if you have kiddos, school's already starting up, your kiddos are probably already been in school. If you can believe it, right now as I'm recording, we are in our seventh week of school. Like that gave me gross. I cannot believe we've been in school for 7 weeks. And it's almost like a mind fuck a little bit when you're like, when does it stop? When does it end? When do I get a time to fucking just sit and breathe or just be? And that's where this episode really comes into play. I had gotten a message and I'm doing more of the teaching. So a lot of my videos now, if you're following me on TikTok or Instagram, even on my Patreon, and if you didn't know, I have a Patreon, friend. Like you should come on over. It's so fun. And what I'm doing now more is the teaching aspect. And a lot of the videos, it's not like big teachings, it's just little bites, like a little snack that you can save the video and honestly just sit with things that you can do pretty quickly, pretty easily, almost like a set it and forget it kind of magical witchcraft that you can do. Now, the message that I did receive was I'm a baby witch. I don't even know how or where to start. I want to just ingest it all. Fuck yeah. One, I this is just me. This is just me. I personally have never really liked the term baby witch. And I know some of you really resonate with it. So hold on, hear me out, okay? Hold on. Chill. The reason I just don't vibe with baby witch is because one, you are not an infant. Like you're not a baby, okay? You're not. You're unless you're a literal baby. You have no idea what I'm talking about because right now it just sounds probably like gibberish. But you're not a baby. Yes, you are new to learning, maybe, but honestly, you've been doing this spiritual work, you've been doing witchcraft. It's just been cloaked under a name or guise of something else. I just had my solar return. And to be very, very honest, I was posting things when I should have gone back to my own damn podcast. Like, what did I even post that you can do? But honestly, just posting things and telling people, yeah, you sing happy birthday. People sing to you on your birthday with a candle and a cake, and that's literally candle magic. Yeah. And if you participate in Christmassy activities like a Christmas tree and you decorate it, that's like rooted in paganism. You throw salt over your shoulder when you drop it. Yeah, that's spell work too. So yeah, there's a lot that you've been doing that you probably didn't even recognize that. Shit, I've been a witch this whole time. Hell yeah. But now you're in this journey. So that's why I don't vibe with baby witch. You can call yourself a baby witch. That's okay. I wouldn't call you a baby witch, you know. So here's the things as a beginner witch, and I'm just gonna kind of I'm gonna have a real conversation with you, okay? Because I don't know if this is gonna be put under Susie's Enchanted Crossroads or my bonus, to be honest, as I'm recording this with spirituality, where we just spilling the tea, we're just being real, but I'm real on both podcasts. But honestly, like as a beginner witch, we were all there. So at some point, okay, you weren't just born a perfect witch. No. And I will die on that hill. We are constantly learning, figuring out what is going to be our jam, figuring out a spell, why it went awry, how it went well, if it backfired, whatever. Like we're still constantly learning. But if you are truly a beginner, this is why I started this podcast. And if you go down to the very first episode where I welcome you to the crossroads, I built these episodes that way. Okay, I'm ready to start. This is protection, how to ground myself, how to cast a circle, how to call in my guides. What is a guide? Who is a guide? What if I don't want to work with my ancestors? And what the hell is an evil eye? And what's color magic? All of those episodes are geared for those that are just starting out. Now, here is where, when I got this message, right, from a quote unquote baby witch, and I've done it too. We want to just hurry up and do the damn thing, right? I just know I want to do this love spell, period. That's what I want to do. And this can be from a young listener in their teens. This can be someone older wanting just this love spell. But why do we want to do this love spell? Why do we feel the need to get all these things together to do this love spell, to get this person to fall in love with us? And this is where a lot of witches or spiritual people, and this is just in general, people don't want to look at that shadow part of themselves. And when we talk about the shadow, this is nothing negative. That is a part of you. When you're walking outside and the sun is shining, and you're walking and you happen to catch a glimpse at your shadow, right? On the cement as you're walking or the grass, you don't turn to that shadow and be like, "Oh my God, that's evil." No, that shadow is a part of you. It is the light from the sun or even the moon hitting you, and in that light and in the shadows, you see it. We don't turn and just point at our shadow and be like, evil. No. So when we start looking deeper within ourselves, why do we feel the need to like shit on our shadow work? Now, shadow work is a buzzword. I will be honest. Yes, I've heard, oh, your shadow work and all this stuff. But working with your shadow self can go as deep as you want. And as you start at shadow work, you start very, very, okay, why? Very basic. Why do I feel this way? And as you're feeling that, as you're going through it, then it's like you journal. And then, okay, let me pull a card. And then it's like, you know what? I'm feeling this way because of a lack of whatever. And then you notice that you are maybe feeling an energetic pull to a certain crystal. When you look it up, oh, the crystal's correspondence is this, this, and this. Maybe that's what I need. I'm feeling this need. Now, when you go deeper into shadows as far as trauma, then yes, you want to do that within the safety of maybe a counselor or a therapist, someone who is there that will be your support and your safety net so that way you don't spiral. So yeah, shadow work is the buzzword. Shadow work gets a lot of like eye rolls and especially from the love and light community, which Teresa and I spoke about. Not everything is love and light. That is not healthy. So, as a beginner witch, you have to realize that magic, your craft is art. Like witchcraft, like you're crafting. You're crafting things, okay? Crafting a spell, crafting this jar, crafting a freezer spell, crafting this Reiki energy. You are crafting. And the art of using this witchcraft is to get your attention and focus it and get that intention and shape it into your reality. So, learning how to work with magic requires you, firstly, to learn about yourself, and the shadow part of yourself is part of you, but you're working on it, right? And that's the goal. The whole point of this is to continually work on ourselves because when we work on ourselves, when we understand ourselves and our emotions and what we're feeling, what we're thinking, and where is this stemming from, when we become more mindful, then we can project that out into the world. And in the world, we can all use a little love and some grounding for sure. And as you learn about yourself, now it's like, okay, what is a goal that you have? Yeah, you have this intention. What is this manifestation? And this manifestation, we want to get to the root of it, right? We talk about the root chakra. We want to get to the root of the problem. But what is this root of this intention and your manifestation? I want a new job. Cool. Hell yeah. I'm with you on that. Why do you want a new job? The current one drains my energy. The current one, I am not getting compensation for all the work that I put in. Uh, I I want more time for my family, whatever, right? You are putting it out there that you want a new job. Now, first and foremost, beginner witches, those new on your path, you want to be very specific. But as you get to know yourself and getting to the core of those motivations and your highest goal and why you want to achieve this and being specific, it's also putting in the work. So you are manifesting a new job, which I believe we've spoken about this before, but what is it about this new job that you learn about yourself. Maybe if you are very introverted and the job that you're at, it makes you talk to a bunch of customers and that's energetically draining. So you're maybe wanting a new job where you work remote. So we are manifesting this. Our goal is to work remotely because we want to feel comfortable in our energy where we're not constantly feeling drained. Now you have to put in the work, as we've discussed, right? You can do the spell, of course. Light the candle, set your protections, bring in ancestors, your guides, do the spell jar. But also you have to put in the work in this timeline. You how you gonna get a new job if you don't apply nowhere? If you're not actively looking or searching? Or when something begins to fall in your lap, how are you looking at that? Is this something negative, like at your current job, oh, Sam, can you please do this paperwork? And I would like it done by tonight, and you're supposed to clock out in 20 minutes. And you look at it, and it's going to take you at least an hour, and it's not part of your job description, it's not part of anything. When something like this happens, are you going to start speaking up? Because the universe is like, all right, is she going to speak up? Are you going to say, you know what, I can begin this, but I'll probably end up finishing this at tomorrow when I clock in, unless you want to pay me overtime? So these are the things that you need to start looking in within yourself. Also, as a beginner witch, what type of spell are you going to cast is very important. I wrote notes, you guys. Types of spells you're going to cast. What is this? Manifestation, a hex, abundance, whatever, right? Freezer spell. So what type of spell are you going to cast or are you interested in? And honestly, know your history because there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to question you, and sometimes they're a curious skeptic, and other times they're just like, ugh, you're into this. That's so weird. And to those people, ignore them, cut them off, but also know your history. Know the history of witchcraft. Witchcraft goes back so far back, but also that we are all innately born with these gifts. It's just how we continue to move through this lifetime if we're actually going to use the gifts that were bestowed upon us. Now, some will come quicker and easier than maybe somebody else, but it's almost like being, I don't know, being really good at, um, I don't know, football, or being really good or picking up the piano quickly, or being able to remember choreography, or picking up a paintbrush and you just all of a sudden are just naturally more gifted with paint than you are maybe with charcoal. That's the same thing with the craft. And if you go back a couple of episodes, I talked about all of the clairs that we're born with, the major clairs and the lesser known clairs, but we all have them, but it's also exercising that muscle. If you've never attempted to do a handstand, there's no one saying that you can't do it, but it's going to take some practice. It's going to take some dedication. You might have to do a little research on how to even do it safely, but it can be done. Even if you have to modify a handstand, and that's witchcraft as well. You you move and alter it because you are the magic, and the way you have things resonate is going to be different than what I see and have things resonate. No, different types of witches. I also talked about that in my earlier podcast in season one. Types of magic, types of divination, understanding differences between talismans and Amulets, which I also have an episode on, and sigils. What do certain symbols mean? You look at a pentacle and people have thought that that was super evil. Oh my God, that's so evil. That's dark magic. When you learn the history and what these symbols are, a pentacle is actually a protective symbol and also is used in tarot to resonate like with the earth and to ground you. So understanding that, are you into deities? How about the elements? What's lucid dreaming? If you feel that your ADHD or your squiggly brain can't, where you're like, oh, I can never meditate, and everyone's always saying, you sit and meditate and journal, and I just can't do, I can't sit still for, 2 minutes. Knowing that meditation doesn't mean sitting for 60 minutes. You can do active meditation. Understanding crystals and herbs and plants and moon phases, and there's so many, but no one is saying you have to be an expert in them unless that is something that just really jives with you. Let me tell you that as a kid, all I did was collect rocks. I did. I loved them. And to this day, guess what? I collect crystals. But there was a point where I'm looking at all these crystals and I'm not utilizing all of them. So then I thought, okay, what can I do here? So I started crafting. And I took the crystals that I no longer use, or because I don't know what is up with me. I feel like what I didn't have enough of a certain crystal. Like, how much rose quartz do I need? Or you know what I mean? Or this green aventurine. Like, why do I have like 6 pieces? Now it's taking those crystals and maybe putting them around your house and doing a crystal grid, which I've done. But also, I've taken a lot of my duplicate crystals or crystals. I feel like, you know what? This worked for me 3 years ago, but I'm ready to pass this crystal down to someone who might need it. And I started crafting and I integrated crystals in with, what is it called? Resin. And I made my family and my closest friends some, it was like, it's like a little wooden bowl, but it's where you can put your keys or your jewelry. So it's like a little charging station, and each one had a different crystal and different herbs and flowers that I actually mixed with the resin. And so I made that with the intention for that specific person. You can do that for yourself. You don't need the massive amount of crystals. You don't need the massive amount of herb bundles. Sorry, I was like, what's that word? You don't need so many. You don't even need to purchase any of this. Anything that calls to you that's literally out in nature is you just say, appreciate and say thank you. On a run, I remember I was on a jog and there was a gentle breeze and I don't know what I was thinking at the time because my mind was just like, why are you running, girl? Like this is the worst thing ever. Why are we doing this? And I was like, no, we have to keep pushing. And I had a thought, I can't remember it now, but I distinctly remember as I was running, I guess a little breeze kicked and this beautiful yellow little flower went and landed like right on my shoulder. Like not on the top of my shoulder, but landed right on my vest where it caught. And I was like, oh, thank you. It was like just that little nudge, like, you got this. Now, whether it was from the universe or my higher self or my guides, it's like, you got this. You don't have to push so hard, but at least you're doing the thing. That's where I was like, ooh, it gave me chills, goosebumps. I took that right home, put it in my pocket. It was a little squished after, that's okay. And I put it on my altar as a thank you. Like, thank you so much for sharing this with me. I'm going to put it on my altar because this brought me happiness. Little things like that. All right, Susie. Okay, cool. I went through all your early episodes. I want to cast a spell. How do I do that? Bet. Okay. First things first, what's your intention? What is your focus on your spell? And make sure you define it and refine it because your intention is that you're setting before any spell work needs to be clear. And the clearer you are, the more likely the spell is going to work. Having just a very just broad intention might, I don't want to say it'll fuck up your spell, but it'll put your spell maybe in a way where you're like, that's not what I meant. And it happens, and that's how we learn, okay? It just is what it is. And as you have your intention, really sit with it. Because sometimes we heighten our emotions, but I will say that at the time, unless you're like really not thinking clearly, then yeah, take five, take a breath, go outside, just whatever, scream, yell, kick, cry. But when you come back and you're still in that state of emotion, harness it and use it. That's how I use a lot of my freezer spells too. And it's not that freezer spells are like innately where you're just fucking pissed all the time. Sometimes it's just like, damn, this person needs to chill. Like, please, you're all over my ass and haven't even taken me out to dinner. Like, calm down. Some people just need to chill, and they can chill all the way in my freezer. Now, sometimes it's pushing up, like, you know what, this motherfucker. Absolutely not. They're going to the freezer. Freezer spells are very, very easy. If you'd like me to do that, let me know. Hit me up. I can go through it. But first things first is your intention. And then we want to get to your preparation. What tools will you need? What materials do you need for this spell? So, knowledge of corresponding crystals we just talked about, herbs. Are you doing a freezer spell? Are you doing a jar spell? A candle ritual? What do you need for these things? Especially when working with fire, people, please fire safety. Yeah, you want to be ready in just in case, you rolled your candle in a bunch of herbs and then it really catches fire. Do you know how to put out that fire? Yeah, if you don't, then no, 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 no. You can do a candle spell without you having to use so many herbs. So just be mindful when you're working with fire. What else are you going to need? Do you need divination tools? Incense, music. How are you dressed? And please, if you're working with fire, don't wear those robes with like the flowy, like silk arms, especially if you're going to be around that fire. You want to also be making sure that you're dressed appropriately. But yeah, what tools do you need? Now, some witches do have wands and what are those knives called? I'm thinking of scythe, but it's not a scythe because I know what that is. Oh, you're probably yelling at me. Anyway, ceremonial like little dagger that you use, or are you just using your freaking kitchen knife? Again, safety. You also want to make sure that you're setting the mood for your spell. What phase is the moon in? Are you doing it at midnight or are you doing it at high noon? Are you doing it under a specific zodiac sign, or a specific day of the week? We talk about the witching hour. You can go back and listen to that. Are you calling in ancestors? Are you waiting for the veil to be thin, even though veils are thin? We've talked about this before, but is it easier for you to communicate at a certain time, like at Samhain or Day of the Dead? Where are you doing this? Are you doing it in your own kitchen, in your room? Are you doing it outside in your backyard? Are you going to a cemetery? And that's a whole other thing. Research, research, research. Then obviously your protection, right? Casting your circle, grounding, making sure you're cleansing yourself, cleansing the space and what you are working with. This can be with bells, this can be with noise, this can be with your own breath, incense, whatever. I've talked about it before. because you don't want outside energies to interfere with your spell work. And now it's time to perform the damn thing. And this is exciting. Also, to preface, you do not need to have a grand, huge, big ritual spell in order for it to work. Those are all fine and dandy if you have the spoons to do it. But also, you want to be mindful that little spell workings, that works too. You could literally get a birthday candle, find the color that matches whatever your intention is, write down your intention on a piece of paper. And if you're banishing something, and all you have is a white candle, obviously, white can be used for everything. And you write whatever it is you're dispelling, you fold it away from you, you tear it up to shreds, and then you allow the candle to melt all the way down. And it's a birthday candle, won't take long. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. There you go. That is spell work. On the flip side, if you're doing your cord cutting on either a toxic situation or even to cord cut a bad habit that you currently have upon yourself, one, you're mindful of what this cord cutting means, and you have a fireproof dish and all the herbs and the candles and the music, and maybe you're wearing something. You got your favorite fucking crystal wand, and you called in your guides, and it's this huge show and it's a big fire, and you're super safe, and then it all winds down and then you're good to go. You can even just do a ritual spell bath. This is where your intention and your focus and your preparation comes into play. Also thinking, okay, if I'm going to do this spell working, are you tethering it to anything else? Are you tethering it to a plant so you can keep an eye on it? All these little things. All right, cool. As you're performing, do you need to recite any words? Do you need to carry out other actions? If you can't speak out the words, do you write them down? Is there a chant? Is it rhyming? Is it just, fuck, this person's getting on my last fucking nerves and they're giving me more work when they're supposed to be doing when they're lazy? They're going in the freezer and that way they can do their own damn work. Cool. The manifestation or these words, sometimes you don't need a whole chant. Maybe it's just one word. Maybe it's a phrase. And then once all of that is done, you end your spell. You're grounding in that power that you've raised during your spell. You're completing anything that needs to be done after it. Okay, maybe what do you do with the remnants of the herbs that you have? You did a simmer pot. Cool. I just did a simmer pot the other day. You did a simmer pot. What contents did you use? Are you able to compost it, or is it not safe for the soil because you added salt? You can say thank you to all of that and just throw away the contents. And are you using the water for anything else, or are you just dumping it down the drain and just saying thank you? Or maybe you're dumping it on the sidewalk in your front yard because you're welcoming in abundance. How are you disposing of those things? If a spell doesn't require any action, then you end it. You close the circle. So mote it be, and so it is, and wham bam, it's fucking done. Whatever your ending phrase is, cool. Maybe you, I don't know, turn in a circle 3 times, jump up and down, and give yourself a little wiggle, and that's how you end every spell. That's actually fucking cool. Actually, maybe I should do that. Like, whatever way that is that you need to close out your own spell. And then remember that it's done. Now, when you do the spell work, you don't want to constantly be thinking like, oh, is it going to work? And when is it going to work? Sometimes, just like your manifestations, if they don't come to fruition right away, it's for a reason. So if your spell went sideways for whatever, this is why either recording yourself doing it or either with a video or an audio or writing it down is so important. And I'm not saying you have to have a super fancy grimoire, like even just like a post-it note. Go back and see. Let's say it's 3 months and you're like, damn, this is not the way I wanted it to go. I wanted this, this, and this. Now, sometimes what we want and what we need are very different, but going back and just seeing the correspondences, like, oh shit, I just realized like was welcoming in abundance, but I did it under this moon phase. And I should have phrased it in this way if I was utilizing lunar magic. All right, cool. Let's redo it. Oh shit. Like when I said I wanted more money to come in, I didn't expect to be given extra shifts that I had to take. Let's revisit this spell. And honestly, if you're doing spell for others, I mean, cool, but you want to understand their energy and how to ground yourself and make sure that you're protected. And then, like I said, there's different kinds of spells. You have protection, you have manifestation, you have growth, binding, attraction. I have here transmutation, reversal, removal, cleansing and clearing, healing, growth, attraction, abundance. Oh my gosh, I can go on and on and on. There's just whatever you need. So you just want to make sure that you, as a beginner witch, do all the research. And I know it doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't, right? Like you got to research this shit. But if you're excited about it and it's starting to light you up and it's moving you in a way where you're just like, ooh, you know what? I was part of Susie's Patreon and she pulled this card out and she was talking about surrender. And I just noticed that we're under a waning crescent moon. Honestly, I've been slacking on my self-care. And by self-care, I mean not just like giving yourself a little ritual bath, but that you've been maybe um going to bed like at 2 in the morning because you're scrolling on social media and doom scrolling instead of getting some shut eye because you got to wake up at 5:45 in the morning. So then you're dragging and you snooze the alarm. And then when you snooze the alarm, you're in a state of panic when you do have to get up, and then you're rushing, and that rushing makes you feel irritated when you hit traffic. And so that is also self-care. Self-care is at least trying to put yourself to bed at an earlier time in this instance. So that way you can come into a space when you wake up and you're like, oh wow, holy shit, I'm not feeling frazzled this morning. What was different? And the spell work could be finding a meditation that sounds good to you and feels good in your body. Maybe it's actually doing the ritual of this waning crescent to change the sheets and or at the very least if you have the spoons for it, changing your pillowcase. And maybe, you know what? Holy shit, I had this amethyst. I didn't even know what I was going to use it for. I'm going to put it on my bedside. And the reason I can't really sleep is because I have restless dreams. So I'm going to put this glass of water next to my nightstand with a little bit of salt for protection and rosemary to absorb whatever negative energies and weirdo dreams so that I get some rest. That is spell work, beautiful soul. You are taking a crystal, you are taking the moon phase, you're taking all of this and applying it to a sacred space. And your sacred space is where you work. This is where you feel comfortable and protected. You don't need to have a big ol' separate room for your rituals. This is just where you can at least be comfortable in what you need to do. Well, that was a long rant on baby witches, huh? But I hope no matter if you're a baby witch, a veteran witch, um, whatever you've been practicing for 2 years, you've been practicing for 20 years, hopefully this moved something within you because honestly, I feel like we all need that every now and then. Sometimes we've been doing this so long that we're like, oh man, here's another freezer spell, but how else can you shake up that freezer spell, right? So if we're looking at it and maybe we've never added, I don't know, a crystal chip to it, and then you found a bunch of like tiger's eye crystal chips. Well, tiger's eye is the element of earth. It does aid in like truth and wisdom. So maybe I do a spell where this person sees the truth. Or maybe you need to see the truth in a situation. It's like, well, shit, like, let's use this. Sometimes you have things lying around and it just takes a little bit of curiosity. So if you go into your kitchen right now and you're like, what do I got in here? You know? Or in your backyard and you're like, I got mint. What are the magical correspondences to mint? You can use mint in for love magic, for prosperity, for renewal, for health. Knowing that its association is to air. So maybe if you're feeling a little down on yourself, maybe you just need to raise your vibration, maybe of your home, of yourself, to cleanse any energy. You use maybe essential oil with mint, or maybe you pick mint off out of your garden, or you grab mint at the freaking supermarket and you put it in a tea. Maybe the tea is for you. Maybe you make a little simmer pot for the home. Maybe you make a sachet, put mint in it, put a couple of coins, to bring in health, or I mean wealth, I'm sorry, prosperity, and maybe just a little bit of, I don't know, like abundance is attracted to me in the form of a bonus at the end of the month. And you fill that sachet with coins and that spell written down and some mint or some drops of mint oil. And then you keep it with you in your wallet, or you leave it in your desk at work. Those are simple, beautiful spells that can really just pack a punch. So I love, love, love hearing from y'all. I loved that little question that just prompted this long episode. So yeah, let me know. And also, for someone else who saw my cauldron, you don't need to buy the things. Like the supply is literally, you can get a candle. If you can't burn a candle, the battery powered ones are just as effective. You can have crystals if you want, or just pick a beautiful rock that you're attracted to when you're walking your dog. You don't need a fancy grimoire. You can use a composition fucking notebook. Buy one if it's going to make you use it, but you don't need to purchase anything else. Before you buy that incense or that smoke, make sure that it's good for your animals around if you have animals in the home. A fireproof, hey, a fireproof dish, fireproof. And literally YouTube or Google like how to put out fires, okay? Because you just never know. And yeah, you can buy tools for divination like runes and divination cards or a pendulum, but you really can just use a necklace with a heavy bottom. That's your pendulum. You just need to know how to charge it and wake it up and do all that good stuff. I missed you so much. Hey, so catch me, you can catch my newsletter. It is 3.99. It's going through some changes, my newsletter. You might see it change in a bit. I'm still trying to find my vibe. And of course, you can find me on my socials, TikTok and Instagram. And then, of course, you heard me talk about my Patreon. So, my Patreon, you can join for free. I have those memberships for free, but also I have some paid tiers. And today's shout out, I'm trying to, there we go. I have a new member, and whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm going to shout out my members on my Patreon. I didn't do this the last time, so I'm going to pull up my brand new member, which is under the handle of Jeff and Leslie Mosier? Moser. I might be splashing a little bit of zhuzh on that name, but I want to thank you so, so much for being a Patreon member. I also have Rachel as a Patreon member, Stephanie, hey, 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 Emily, and Elena, Martha. Thank you so, so much for being a part of my Patreon. I love you guys. If you can just see me, I'm throwing up my little heart symbol. You make my heart so, so happy. So I really love having my Patreon. I'm still new, so just give me some grace, but I love having you on there. I pull cards. Okay, so I'm so excited for the Burr uh, months coming as we are in September. And coming up, we're gonna make some witch boxes, and some witch balls. I know how that sounds, but it's gonna be we're gonna put the craft in witchcraft, baby. So yeah, come on in, join my Patreon. All the links are going to be in the show notes. Say hi to me on the gram or on TikTok. I'm open for tarot readings and Reiki sessions. And guess what? I'm going to start putting my spiritual witchy teaching hat back on, and I'm going to be teaching once again. So once I get a handle on all the deets, I will let you know all the details on that. All right, gorgeous soul. Have a great day. Go out there, see the magic in the mundane, and know that you are the magic. And until next time, I will see you at the crossroads. Thank you for listening to this episode of Susie's Enchanted Crossroads. I'd love to hear what resonated with you, so don't be shy. Tap the links in the show notes to send a message or share your thoughts. Make sure you leave a review because your voice helps this community grow and guides others to find this podcast and their magic. Want even more enchantment between episodes? Sign up for my weekly newsletter for rituals, energy tips, and exclusive updates. And don't forget to follow me on my socials on Instagram and TikTok for your daily doses of magic, silliness, and behind the scene moments. If you felt a little magic today, share this episode with a friend who might need it. And until next time, I will see you at the crossroads.